I want to thank the CSL music team and Gary Lynn Floyd for our fabulous music today. And also, I'm always grateful to our readers and the wonderful ways that they present the message. We're on week 8 of our 12-week series on Chop Wood, Carry Water, which is a book by Rick Fields. It's hard to believe that 8 weeks have already gone by. Each week is independent, so the good news is that you can watch all the rest of them because they're out on our website at cslsoutheastla.org. And today we're talking about something that's of great importance to each and every one of us. Because as we live longer on this planet, what we notice is our health and healing. I'm happy to say that as we continue on this journey today, we'll be discussing how health and healing is important in your spirituality and how embracing healthy thoughts and healing attitudes can actually change your life. Imagine the ease of life if we remember to recognize how our cells respond to the truth of who they are, whole, perfect, and complete. And if we truly embrace these words of Marcus Aurelius, the soul becomes dyed with the color of your thoughts. I'll tell you what that means a little bit more in just a minute, but first, the question of the week. What is the one choice that you can make today to make health and healing part of your spiritual practice? To color your soul with beautiful thoughts about health and healing, and to embrace healing attitudes to change your life. One more time. What is the one choice you can make today to make health and healing part of your spiritual practice? To color your soul with beautiful thoughts about health and healing, and to embrace healing attitudes to change your life. I suspect that most of you are familiar with the Bible story about David and Goliath. It's a story of contrasts. Goliath was an experienced warrior. David, a shepherd. Goliath was huge. David was small. The giant wore armor. David didn't have any. The warrior carried a sword, a spear, and a shield. The shepherd carried a staff, a sling, and 5 smooth stones. Goliath scoffed at God. David trusted God. Even though everyone else was afraid to challenge Goliath, David was not. And when the battle ended, David had triumphed, having pulled his sling back with a stone attached to it, letting it rip right into Goliath's forehead. I discovered this phrase a few weeks ago, which got me thinking about this story. And I'm sorry I forgot to get the reference, but it seems so appropriate for our message today on health and healing. Here's what it was. If God put Goliath in front of you, then he must know there is a David inside of you. When we trust in that higher power, we can overcome our giants. David knew that size didn't matter. It was heart and courage and commitment that mattered. And you can apply the same principle and that same level of thinking in your life and to any health challenges that you're facing or anything in your life that truly needs to be healed. How? Think bigger than the challenge. Be bigger than the obstacle and act as David did, as if it's possible to overcome it. You heard in the reading today a story about 2 men, each diagnosed with the same illness, and how they treated it. It was the man who shifted his life to do the things that he knew were important that healed, while the other one gave up on living and died quickly. I invite each of us to make health and healing part of a spiritual practice. We can remember to be bigger than our fears, bigger than any health problem, and bigger than anything we need to heal. W. Clinton Stone wrote this: "Thinking will not overcome fear. but action will. You might be thinking, sure, take action. I don't even know where to begin with whatever fear or health problem you might be having that's restricting your life. That's precisely why it's a spiritual practice. Ask the divine for the answer. Take some quiet time and use a question similar to this one. What is the one step I might take today to overcome whatever it is that's restricting my life and having me not living fully? In life, we come across challenges. Some are small, some are even teeny, and some seem enormous. But the size of the problem, the size of the challenge or the obstacle is irrelevant, because size doesn't determine what's possible for you. The only thing that determines what's possible for you is you, your mindset, and your beliefs. And that's precisely why Marcus Aurelius' statement is so apropos. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. It's your thoughts that control how you are and how you see things and what you believe is possible in your life. Like David, do you trust in the wisdom of the divine? If so, learn to think bigger than the challenge, to be bigger than the obstacle, and act as if it's impossible for you to fail. Yes, I said impossible for you to fail. Have self-confidence, conviction, believe in yourself more than you believe that the challenge is too big to handle. So let's get back to that quote again. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. I want to color my soul with beautiful colors, and that requires that I become aware of my thoughts. How do I do that? I stop making excuses about health issues or about those things that need healing. David didn't complain that he didn't have any armor, that he was small and Goliath was a giant. What if we just could begin to use what we already have in our toolkit that's very powerful? Our spiritual practices like prayer, meditation, affirmations. I invite you to become aware of the thoughts about your health and your healing issues, and believe that it is possible to be healthy and to heal anything that needs to be healed. If you don't have a strong belief that what you're pursuing is possible, you typically fail before you even really get started. Remember when you were young and possibly wanted something but were too afraid to ask for it? Or perhaps you really liked somebody and you were too shy to tell them. Think about your belief at that time. You didn't believe that you could accomplish or get what you wanted, so you basically allowed your fear to be stronger than your faith. You gave up without trying, much like many of David's peers who were too afraid to challenge Goliath. You have to believe you can be healthy and that your natural state of being is health, and that any hurt that you're hanging on to, any grief, any loss that seems overwhelming is able to be healed. You have to believe that the things in your life that need healing, whether they be physical ailments or ones that are resentments, relationships gone awry, those things that maybe could be forgiven that are still part of your thoughts, all of that can be healed. And the amazing thing, in my view, is that when you believe it's possible, your thoughts start dyeing your soul with beauty and health rather than fear or resentment. Nikos Kazantovsky said this: in order to succeed, we must first believe we can. And what's the first step? Stop underestimating yourself. Right. Believe you are capable. It's actually dangerous to underestimate yourself. When you underestimate your own capabilities, you end up achieving less. Judging how Goliath looked and appeared compared to David, you would have thought that Goliath was the superior one. Yet the outcome of the battle turned out to be a lot different than the Israelites expected. Why? Because David didn't underestimate his abilities or himself. He had that self-confidence and lots of it. He was smart enough to know that he was more than capable of succeeding. I had a ministerial dean one time that was telling me that the divine knew I was much more capable of doing big things than I believed I was. And I had to trust in the divine and give myself a chance to do those great things. It wasn't easy to do that. I hung on to my small thinking for quite a while. I want you to know that allowing your thoughts to dye your soul the color of fear is not good. Sometimes we have to just take the leap, and as the saying goes, grow our wings on the way down. Sometimes we just need to paint the picture of success in our minds. You are capable of much more than you actually believe you are. Now that I know I've convinced you to think big and know that you're capable of great things, I want to talk a little bit about Field's chapter on tuning the body. If you haven't read it, I do invite you to do so and to read about the chakras and the Alexander method designed to explore the connection between the body and the mind. I love part of what Field wrote. The best way to begin to learn from our bodies is to enter into the practice of one of the many mind-body disciplines that are proliferating today. He goes on to talk about many of the disciplines available and many techniques that were available back when he wrote the book. And it's quite informative, even though I know that today there are even more available. In ministerial school, I was fortunate to have an amazing professor who was one of the founders of a mind-body organization. His name was Martin Rossman, a doctor. He truly believed that the mind-body connection was one of the most practical understandings that we can have in this human existence. And Dr. Rossman says that this relationship is one of the most important and yet least utilized or understood. Here's his quote. Understanding the mind-body relationship can enable us to live more effectively and with a high sense of well-being as well as confidence. It empowers us to create the life we intend for ourselves and to have a deeper understanding of our divine connection with all that is. Think about that for a moment. Understanding how your mind and body are connected helps you understand our divine connection. That certainly intrigued me, and I was all in for his class for sure. Did you know that the Latin origin of the word health is wholeness? And I noticed for the first time this week as I was writing health and healing that the word heal is also included in the word health. Imagine opening your mind to a new experience of understanding your body of affairs, and the creative power of your mind. Deepening your understanding of the mind-body connection transforms your thinking as well as your life. So what Dr. Rossman taught me that I would like to pass along is about having a conversation with what he called your inner advisor. Here's how it works. When you're feeling out of sorts, there's a process you can use. Perhaps you already know what part of your body is speaking to you, and if not, you can use this scan process. You scan your body starting at the tip of your head, allowing light to go through it, and when the light gets trapped, you notice the part of your body that's resisting. In either case, whether you already knew or you found it through the scanning process, you ask that part of your body what it wants you to know. And when you ask your body to tell you what it wants you to know, you have to be still and listen. You're speaking to your inner advisor, and you want to listen for the wisdom that it has to offer. Then once you hear, ask it again. Is there anything else I might need to know? And listen some more. And you keep doing that until you're certain that you're done. And at that point, you thank that part of your body for the information. The first time I did this, my shoulders were constantly hurting. So when I asked it what it needed to know, the message came through loud and clear. Quit trying to carry other people's burdens. Well, I realized that in my counseling, when people were coming to me for help, I did add their own burdens to my own, and I was carrying their issues with me. And guess what? When I became more aware of that, my constant shoulder pain subsided. Another time when seemingly out of the blue, I had laryngitis, I used the process again, and the message came through that I was holding back from speaking my truth. I knew exactly what I hadn't been saying, and yeah, that one should have been a little bit obvious, and yet I wasn't paying attention until I asked that inner advisor. I've used this process many times over the years, speaking to my inner advisor, connecting my mind and body, and it certainly helped me to become more aware of how my thoughts impact my physical well-being, and how my body is very wise and can help me know what it is I need to know. Yes, the mind-body connection. We do have an inner advisor. We just have to tune into it. And as you explore that creativity of the body and promoting wellness, I suggest that you keep a journal to record some thoughts in your physical manifestations. It actually might be amazing to read back over it over time. In the science of mind, we learned that the supply of every good awaits our demand, a truth that demonstrates daily in our lives. Here's what Holmes had to say. Nature is perfect, and when let alone, will flow through man in a perfect state of health. Each has the power to demand his share of the gift God has provided of health, wealth, and power. Each is supplied as he believes. Think it's time to start believing that we can receive those gifts? Each is supplied as he believes. Sri Aurobindo, a modern Indian sage and philosopher, said this: in the past, the body has been regarded by spiritual seekers as an obstacle. It's something to be overcome and discarded, rather than as an instrument of spiritual perfection in a field of spiritual change. It has been condemned as a grossness of matter, as an insuperable impediment, and the limitation to the body as something unchangeable, making transformation impossible. If we regard our body as an obstacle, how can we expect the universe to give us what we need to feel whole, perfect, and complete? Our opening song invited you to love yourself the way you are. Now, it's not that we are not wanting to be better in some ways, but it is about accepting how things are and seeing your body as an instrument of spiritual perfection in a field of spiritual change. Perfect right here and right now. And if you believe your thoughts are prayers, as I truly do, and as our message song indicated, then let us remember to have those thoughts of loving who we are right here, right now, while knowing that anything that needs to be healed is being healed, and that anything that is desiring to be lifted up can be lifted up. As Saraha says, here in this body are the sacred rivers. Here are the sun and moon, as well as all the pilgrimage places. I have not encountered another temple as blissful as my own body. Do you consider your body a blissful temple? Okay, I have to admit that most of the time I don't think of mine that way. Perhaps because it's aging, or perhaps because my state of mind around slowing down and not being as quick as I used to be is blocking that thought. But in any event, blissful is not necessarily the adjective I would use. What does that say about my own faith, about my belief in the healing power of my thought? I guess it says I have some work to do. Paul Winter, who was a sax player, specialized in earth music and ecology, and he talked of a way to reconnect our minds and bodies. I invite you to pay attention to what he had to say about reconnecting, because he talked about this reversing our downward spiral, that spiral in which we gobble input. The main computer starts worrying and takes over the ship. Feelings and instinct disengage. We stop breathing. The body gets tense. Circulation slows. And what's left is the rigid robot thinking its way through life, punched into survival mode. To break out of this and reverse the spiral, I see the process as this. You do something physical that gets the breathing going. Then the nervous system relaxes, circulation increases, the mind eases its grip, as it always does when the heart revives, and you get your life back. And spirit is there by definition. We are spirit when we are alive. I love that Paul Winter, a sax player, wrote that. His words truly resonate with me. Have you ever noticed that just pausing to take a deep breath nourishes you? And it does indeed relax you and allow you to be more centered. Fields talks about religion and medicine and how many of our greatest religion leaders have been great healers. Think about all of that healing that Jesus did. Theologian Paul Tillich wrote in The Meaning of Health, the word salvation is derived from the Latin word salvage, which means heal and whole. Salvation is basically and essentially healing, the reestablishment of a whole that was broken, disrupted, disintegrated. If we think of salvation in its essence, Jesus did indeed bring us salvation, for he showed us the ways to take our disrupted, broken selves and feel whole again. And before I end, I don't want to ignore the 7 tips for healing yourself that are Barney Siegel's and which are still appropriate for today. Here's a quick summary of them with a bit of my own insight added, of course. Number 1, accept your illness. Acceptance is not resignation. Put your energy into being free. Turn it over to God and know that Goliath wouldn't be in front of you if there weren't a David inside of you to handle it. Number 2, see the illness as a source of growth. Siegel talks about the salamander growing a new tail if he loses one. What if we looked for the lesson in an illness and saw how we could grow our thoughts and have new thoughts that possibly would eliminate the illness? Number 3, view your illness as a positive redirection in your life. For example, when you can see getting fired as part of divine order, as an opportunity for you to actually redirect your life into something that is even better employment for you, or when you can see COVID as an opportunity to slow down and notice what things are really important in your life, you've mastered this one. You might even notice that you're becoming more centered into who you are as a person. Number 4, understand that death or reoccurrence is not a failure. It's just another choice. If you've managed to go through steps 1, 2, and 3, then death or reoccurrence may happen, but remember, death is inevitable. So if staying alive is your goal, you're going to fail. Eventually, we all die. Learn to enjoy the moment, each moment, to the fullest. Number 5, learn self-love and peace of mind. The body responds. Siegel says to use those live messages like, I love myself the way I am, suggesting that your immune system knows that you enjoy living and have something to offer the world. Positive I messages actually help your immune system because they tell your body, let's fight. Number 6, don't make physical change your sole goal. When you learn to love and make peace of mind and acceptance and forgiveness and compassion your goal, your body does respond. And you might even notice that the illnesses go away. Number 7, achieve immortality through love. This is actually my favorite one because truly, all there is love. As Siegel suggested, the only way you can truly live forever is to love someone and leave that love behind. And if you think about it, who are the great people that we talk about? Jesus, Buddha, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Muhammad. All people who loved and showed how to be love on this planet. They left a legacy. I love Bernie Siegel's comment about, do we want to spend an hour dying and the rest of our lives living? Or do we want to spend a lot of our lives dying, which is really focusing on fear, and only a little of our lives living? Well, I know the choice I want to make. I want to live from that place of having a healthy attitude, having a sense of humor, living without judgment, being forgiving, having compassion, and having faith that not only can I heal myself, but in doing so, I actually raise the consciousness on the planet and I help others begin to heal as I stand as an example, as Jesus stood as an example, as Buddha stood as an example. Be David in a land with Goliaths. So in summary, decide to live every moment of your life fully. And remember, make health and healing a spiritual practice. Know if you are facing Goliath, there is a David within you that can triumph over any obstacle. And dye your soul with colors of healing thoughts. Believe it's possible to heal and be healthy. Know you are capable of so much more than you possibly can imagine. And embrace healthy and healing attitudes. If you're hurting, ask your inner advisor for help. Think of your body as a blissful temple and spend your life living, not dying. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it that I so easily and willingly make the choice today to make health and healing part of my spiritual practice, to color my soul with beautiful thoughts about health and healing, and to embrace healing attitudes to change my life. Here's your challenge for the week. Make a conscious choice this week to notice your thoughts about health and those things that you want to heal in your life. And use your inner advisor. Live every moment with acceptance, compassion, and forgiveness. And remember those words of Marcus Aurelius. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So let's pray. Just taking a deep, nourishing breath and connecting to that place within you where you know that the divine lives, where you feel that faith of knowing that all is well. Connecting with that David that lives within you, that is filled with courage and compassion, and that heart that is so big that it knows the truth and trusts the divine. What I know is that each of us this week are becoming more aware of our thoughts. Those thoughts that we have that remind us that we're not remembering, that we are whole, perfect, and complete right the way we are, even if we're on our journey to a future change where we feel more connected. I know that this week each of us is dyeing our soul with beautiful colors of knowing that we have within us all that is necessary to overcome any obstacle, no matter what it looks like, whether it be of health or of healing, that the divine and us together can do anything, and all is possible. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I trust that there is within me the ability to handle whatever shows up in my life. And I know that when a Goliath shows up, there is a David within me that can handle it. I just need to tap into it and find it. I know that that inner advisor that I have is infinitely wise and can tell me exactly what it is that I need to know. And it's from the gratitude of knowing all of those ways that I can be grounded in faith that I just release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing the truth, that God has already said yes, already called it done. So I can just say amen, and we can affirm it together. And so it is. And so I just want to say that I'm also grateful for everyone that is donating and keeping our center alive and healthy financially so that we can come back together and have in-person services. We continue to look for just the perfect place and know that it is showing up. Our Goliath of finding the perfect place is being handled with the David in our community that is locating exactly what we need. So thank you again for all of your donations, and enjoy our offertory song.